The NBA resumes tomorrow night after the All-Star break. Joel Embiid, James Harden, and the 76ers resume their season on Friday against the T-Wolves. Embiid is currently leading the scoring race this season, slightly ahead of Giannis. And with that, we bring in Aaron Dolan from Daily Wager. Aaron, welcome. Let's look at the odds to win the scoring title, shall we? Embiid, Giannis, and LeBron James have very little between them here. Is there one of these three you'd give the edge to at this point?
Yeah, I find a lot of value on Giannis at plus 180. He's been really consistent this entire season and has been able to put up that amount of points, even having role players around him like Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, both of which can score. As for Embiid, I do think his production will lessen just slightly in points per game, just given that James Harden is going to be on the floor and he was brought in to lessen the load of Joel Embiid, not going to really be a detriment to how Embiid is playing. He's obviously been great as an MVP candidate, but I do think that his points per game will go down. And as for LeBron, he's up there as well, but he's missed 17 games so far this season. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers start to kind of just pack it in for the season. As we know, they just have been a mess all around, and I don't see LeBron, considering the Lakers have the third toughest strength of schedule, really having to go against good competition and putting up huge numbers. So I do think the value is on Giannis in this market.
I think you're right. Sound logic there. Although maybe the Sixers just kind of increased their margin of victory with James Harden on the floor with Embiid. Let's look at the race for the Eastern Conference. There's some wild numbers out there, Aaron. 538.com has the Celtics with the highest chance of not only getting to the finals out of the East, but winning the whole thing. But as we look at the Eastern Conference odds, the Celtics are the fifth choice at 11-1. Aaron, what do you make of the disparity between the odds and the analytics here and of the Celtics' chances ultimately?
It's not surprising that we're starting to see the Celtics become more into the conversation and see them move down the odds boards, but I'm a little surprised that they're favored to just win it all in terms of some of those markets that we've been talking about. But I will say for the Celtics, I mean, they're firing on all cylinders, especially before the All-Star break. They won 11 of the last 13. Their defense has been great, ranked #1 in defensive efficiency over the last 15 games. They had that great 9-game win streak, but I did want to mention that health is really important for the Celtics. That last game before the All-Star break, they lost to the Detroit Pistons. And as we know, we didn't have Marcus Smart in that game or Robert Williams. Both of those defensive players will be back to play against the Nets on the road. But I did want to mention that as long as this team's able to stay healthy, yes, they can make a push, but I don't see the Celtics winning it all. If anything, I would look at the Atlantic Division. They're plus 330 right now to win that. They're only 2 games behind the Sixers. So if you think that the Sixers are going to take some time to implement James Harden and really be productive in terms of that, I would look at the Celtics to win the Atlantic Division.
Thanks, Aaron. Big perk back with me now. So the Celtics won 9 of 10 going into the break and are 11-1 to win the East. Perk, the Nets lost 8 out of 10 and are the favorites. Kyrie Irving said, quote, "Just watch how our squad comes out of the break." And this tweet right here says, New York Mayor Eric Adams was asked about the indoor vaccine mandates ending and said, "Yes, and I can't wait to get it done." And when asked if he has a plan for phasing out COVID vaccine mandates for indoor spaces in the city, adds that he foresees an announcement on something related to this, quote, "in the next few weeks." So, Perk, what are you expecting the Nets to look like coming out of the break?
Well, it depends. I mean, if they have Kevin Durant, then I expect them to come out and look good. But if Kyrie is going to be the top dog, Kyrie has showed us that when he's the #1 option without any other superstar, he's going to put up numbers, but he's not going to win games. But if they have Kevin Durant, they're going to come out and they're going to be better. Like, I love the pieces that they added for as Andre Drummond. We know they needed the center to anchor the defense. They added more shooting with Seth Curry. They already had Patty Mills around the perimeter. But if it's no KD, then I don't believe a damn word Kyrie Irving is saying. But if they do have Kyrie, then I believe him.
The thing I like so much about KD, Perk, is on any team ever, he's additive. Like, you add him, and without disrupting chemistry, he can just make you better, right? So what about the idea that Kyrie gets this thing going? Even if they're not great, they're just better. They're starting to figure things out, and now you add KD heading into the playoffs.
What are you asking me, Max?
Well, in that case, that's not like them setting the world on fire right after the break, but it is them as a potential title threat, not right?
They are a title threat. I mean, having Kevin Durant, we just talk about arguably the best basketball player in the world, which I think right now is Joel Embiid. Yes, they are a title threat and a contender. I'm not taking that away from them, but what I'm saying is that the East is so loaded. The Brooklyn Nets, even with a healthy KD, is not my favorite. One is because we don't know what Ben Simmons is going to look like. The last time we saw Ben Simmons, it was a national disaster, okay? And he hasn't played all season long. We don't know where his confidence is at. Now, I hope that he comes out balling and get out of the slump, but we don't know. But when you look at the Miami Heat, when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, when you look at the Boston Celtics, when you look at all those teams that are playing well in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm not just picking Brooklyn as my heavy favorite.
We have to move on to Zion. I'll just remind you, KD and Kyrie were cooking the Bucks without James Harden or Ben Simmons last year. In the playoffs, the Bucks are lucky they got hurt or they wouldn't have won the championship. All right, there's been a lot of talk about Zion Williams in the last few days, between C.J. McCollum saying he hadn't heard from Zion after being traded to New Orleans, to the team not including him, Zion, in their message to season ticket holders. What's your take on what's happening with Zion in New Orleans, Perk?
It's a lot to unfold, but here's the thing. One, Zion got to hold himself accountable, and his camp has to clean up a lot of things that's going on in the areas that they need to clean on. We know about his conditioning, his weight, the injuries, his bad habits for his eating. We know about all those things. But here's the fact of the matter. The New Orleans Pelicans is just not a top-notch organization. And it's no knock on David Griffin. It's just where they're at. They're always going to be second to the New Orleans Saints. So Miss Bennett and Mickey Loomis, they never put their all into the basketball side of things. And that's why you see them continuously to lose. They lose stars. They lost AD. They lost CP3 back in the day. And they're on the verge of losing Zion because no one wants to play in New Orleans. Max, I was down there. They was giving away tickets for people to come to the game.
I'm glad you brought that last part up. Jay Will said today on KJM in the morning on ESPN Radio that he has heard that Zion hasn't been at practice, shoot around nothing, since December 4th. Has he played, in your opinion, has he played his last game as a New Orleans Pelican already?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. Do I think he's going to be there long term? Absolutely not. And it's sad, though, because he actually is the one that could change the narrative on the whole situation down there for as a small market team and a team that gets overlooked down there in New Orleans. We watch Giannis do it with Milwaukee. We watching Ja Morant bring life to a small market team in Memphis. Zion actually could change things around for the Pelicans, but I don't think he wants to be there, Max. Actions speak louder than words.
Well, I think everyone wants more Kendrick Perkins, and they're going to get it NBA Today at the top of the hour. Thanks, Kendrick.